The lesson.
Oh yeah.
Let's backtrack a bit. So for the people that aren't necessarily familiar with your whole background and whatnot,
Yeah.
I originally first heard your stuff or your name through Dialect.
Yeah.
And also I got some mates in Blackwood.
Yeah.
And you used to work at a pizza shop in Blackwood.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah, for like 4 years.
Yeah. Now tell us. I also found out that you were actually into the comedy thing.
Yeah.
At one point. So tell us, if you don't mind filling us in, tell us a little bit about, just what you were doing in the comedy stuff, and then the transition phase from that into the music.
Well, comedy, like, I grew up with Dialect, so we used to, like, when we were, like, 13, 14, we'd watch Dave Chappelle, we'd watch, like, Chris Rock and all that, and we'd be like, we're going to be rappers, we're going to be comedians, all that kind of. And so, like, as he went into the rapping thing earlier, he was going to battles, so I was always there, but he was 14 winning battles. So I was like, man, I'm not ready to rap or anything. I'm a child, you know what I mean? But he was like a prodigy, so I was kind of like, I'm going to try the comedy thing. And I was like, so I tried that when I was like 18, 19. And then it was all right. Like, I was okay at it, but at the same time, like, I was doing music as a hobby, always did it as a hobby, and that sort of just started. People started hitting me up like, where's your new song and stuff. I was like, oh, you listen to me? Sick. All right, I'll make another song. And then a few more people would be like, yeah, I love Allday. I'd be like, what? Like, this is a hobby. So then it just kind of started going like this, and then I just kind of left comedy after that.
Tell us at which point, you mentioned like you put out a song and people were responsive to it.
Yeah.
And then, that might have happened, a few other times or whatnot. Obviously, it's happened a lot up to this point now. But at which point or at which song, for example, did you sort of feel like, right, I'm investing all my time and energy into this?
It was probably, I did a song called So Good in Melbourne with C1. So I'd moved there to go, I'm going to be a comedian, blah, blah, blah. Then like this dude hits me up like, oh, so you do some freestyle on YouTube or whatever. I like your music. Let's do this. So we made some songs, super cash, came back to Allday to record it at Coulter's house down in Seaford. And then that radio started playing that, and I was like, oh, whatever. People like, you're so good at it on the radio. I was like, what does that even mean, kind of thing. Like, it wasn't a thing that I was thinking about. But and that's that's lucky, because if you think too hard about it, when you try to focus on making a radio song, it ends up sounding like you're trying. You know what I mean? So that innocence was fortuitous. But yeah, so I did that, and then that was when managers were hitting me up and stuff, and like trying to take meetings with me, and I was like, all right, so obviously this is moving. But prior to that, I'd done a mixtape that nobody has, which was like just my mates had for the car around Blackwood, which was just like jacked beats, black milk beats, Dilla beats and stuff. And then I did an EP, which is more like my first EP, still hobby, a second mixtape. All that had happened before anything really went to the radio. Yeah.
So basically, by the sounds of it, a lot of it, you never really planned on all this sort of happening. You were doing it as a hobby.
Yeah.
Got some good feedback, a few things popped off, and you kind of just followed up a few leads, and here you are.
Totally. But the thing is, obviously, it takes a lot of hard work, but like, it was a thing that I'd always loved. I'd always intended. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a basketball player. And so like, I was always like, I'm going to be like Shaq. I'm going to release an album while I'm in the NBA. You know what I mean? But I was like, it's not going to be like Shaq. It's going to be an underground classic, blah, blah, blah. So then, it was a thing that I loved. So it was when the opportunity came, I was like, oh, this can be something that makes me money, then hell yeah, I'm going to do it.
Now let's talk a little bit about your music in particular.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting. I mean, first of all, if I was to say to you in no particular order, some of your biggest influences or groups or artists that you listened to growing up.
Yeah. When I was growing up, like, I was an underground kid growing up, so I was like into Big L. I was insanely into Big L. Probably, I'll say, all right, my three biggest would be Big L, Skinny Man from the UK. I don't know why, but Council State of Mind was just like huge in our crew, and MF though, like, to me personally. I know he's like super old school, but when I was a kid, that was like the three big influences on me.
Word. Yeah, I'm a big fan of L myself. Yep. We play his stuff. We like him so much, we try not to play him every week. It's hard. Now, on the topic of that, when you look at dudes who make music, a lot of the time their music is somewhat influenced or a reflection of what they listen to. Despite the fact that you're Australian and you were listening to American artists. With names like that, if someone said to me, I make music and they're my influences, I guess instantly I would think, okay, I would expect to hear a particular brand of Australian hip hop.
Sure.
You know, I guess more so like, let's say maybe your dialects.
Yeah, for sure.
Or, you know, I don't know, a lyrical commission or something like that.
For sure.
Whereas in your style of Aussie hip hop, I mean, tell me if you agree or disagree, is really quite different.
Yeah.
From the stuff.
Totally.
So do you care to fill us in on how you know your style? Yeah, how that come about? I
don't really know. Like as I grew up. Now these days, I've listened to every '90s hip hop album. Like I had every I got the same as I got every Wu-Tang album, every Wu-Tang solo album, every Rakim album, every single I've listened to it all. And then as I got older, I just kind of went into different directions. Like now I listen to Lil Wayne and Drake and Kendrick and ASAP and more modern music. And then I also listen to a lot of R&B. So I just kind of make whatever comes natural. So yeah, I don't know. It just I don't know the exact link, but I think the only thing that would be the only link between it is that I actually understand rhymes and understand bars. So even if the beats aren't the same or whatever, an underground dude can't really be like, oh, Allday sucks, he doesn't know anything, he can't rap. I just can rap. So but I'm not doing that to impress anybody. I'm just doing it because that's what I know as what is rap. You just rap well and at least have that knowledge of what is good rapping. So I think if anyone's gonna come through and sell records in Australia, then it should be someone that has at least had a grounding in the scene, whether or not they're gonna make boom bap or not. At least they understand the culture of hip hop. They understand how to rhyme.
There's a whole discussion of, I guess in Australia now, what is hip hop and what isn't hip hop. Mm-hmm. What is real hip hop, quote unquote, and what is not. For those, I mean, would you personally put yourself in the hip hop category?
Ooh, that's hard. I'm probably not, I'm not hip hop. In my record, if you listen to my records, some of it there's rapping on it, but it's not all hip hop. I think that the culture of hip hop can exist in the sense that there's going to be purists who stay to the culture, and then there can be people who, the fact is, it's popular enough. There's going to be artists like Flow Rider or whatever who are, rapping on stuff that's completely pop, and there's going to be other artists in between. There's going to be artists who are doing other genres with rap, and I don't think that ruins the subculture of hip hop because it's always a subversive culture anyway. It exists on its own. So I my music goes in hip hop on iTunes, but I don't think I put it in hip hop. I don't know, does someone do that? But I wouldn't know where else to put it. But it's definitely not straight pop. It's definitely not straight R&B. But I understand if a hip hop dude goes, what's that? I understand that, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because when I've talked about it with people, I'm a big believer in what you see now is you see rapping, but it's taken into you could rap over trap music.
Yeah, exactly.
You could just because someone is rhyming in a pop song, doesn't make it hip hop. Yeah. Back and forth, and so there's just been a lot of discussion on, what is Australian hip hop.
Yeah.
In this era, because I mean, if you look 10 years ago, you had your pegs, your lyrical commissions, your drafts.
And at a certain point, it was one subculture. At a certain point, it wasn't broken off. When the scene started, or when I was 10 years old or 11 years old, going to underground shows, it was there was lyrical commission doing a show on the same bill. We were talking about the other day with my mates, on the same bill as Draft and Bliss and Esso. And those dudes was the same set at Jimmy Rose back in the day. So that trips me out because it was one subculture and it's broken off so hard now to so many different sub genres or genres.
On the topic of local artists, who are some of the artists that let's talk old, quote unquote older or old, as well as new. Who are some of the guys that you're a fan of and you enjoy listening to?
Yeah. Well, growing up, Stage is Set. It's like obviously probably the best Australian hip hop album ever. I actually met Brad Strut at a gig in Brisbane one time. He was a lord. Like he gave me stern talking to, but he was cool about it. He didn't expect me to love his music, so like he was just kind of like, oh, what, you love my music? He was like, you taking the piss? I was like, no, I'm serious, dude. Then, Delta, he like schooled us a lot into the game. Like Lost Australian's amazing. All of Delta's work's amazing. We loved band in Queensland growing up. And then, but younger, like we, like when Australian hip hop was first happening, kind of thing, or when we realized it was first happening when we were 11 years old, we were into the whole scene, like we're into everybody that rapped with an Australian accent. But then it kind of just, when we got cynical 14-year-olds, we thought we knew the world. It was all like LC, Parallel, that like grimy Melbourne type shit.
And then, these days currently, looking at artists that are, recently put out music over the last 12, 18 months.
Yeah.
Who are some of the names that you're really enjoying out of that basket?
I'm not super on music, but like, I like Remy and like Barrow and those dudes in Melbourne are cool. Barrow and his whole crew, like a bunch of 18-year-old dudes who do full like modern Tribe Called Quest type thing. Like they sing, but it's like real barsy and like real, yeah, I don't know. Like I like the One Day dudes. I've got like Horror Show, awesome. There's so much good stuff happening now. Like it's just such a big thing in Australia. There's just so many people. TK from Allay's really cool.
Yeah, there's no real signs of it slowing down, is there?
Yeah, it's just popular. Hip hop's popular, and there's heaps of people here doing it, which is sick.
Tell us what your thoughts are on Kerser.
Kerser, man, I respect Kerser. I love that, and you know what? His music is so honest, and so like, if I was 16 years old and I was still like rolling around on the train lines and stuff, that would be the dude that I listen to. Like personally, now at my age, I don't relate to Kerser, but like, he's had no radio. He's said he's pretty much the first person to successfully do real gutter hip hop in Australia. So like, that's awesome. It's the streets, man. The street, you blow up on the streets. What better way to blow up? Like, respect to Kerser.
On the topic of Australian and American hip hop, I mean, do you have a particular preference that if you were to say, what do you listen to more? Let's say these days.
Yeah. These days I listen to way more American hip hop. Yeah, I just prefer American hip hop. I feel like here, people use the accent in Australia as an excuse to not have good tone as well. You know what I mean? Like, you can have that, like, think about some of the terrible British accents that have been in rock or rap or anything that have been huge and sold number ones. But, the accents are terrible, like Manchester accents and stuff. Like, think about Arctic Monkeys. Like, but if you're singing correctly, it doesn't matter where your accent is. You know what I mean? So I believe that about Australian hip hop. People just seem to like choke on the mic half the time. That's why I don't like. That's why there's a lot of great rappers here, but you know what I mean. That's what kind of throws me off sometimes.
On the topic of accents,
yeah.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on people rhyming in accents that they don't actually speak in, whether it be Australian dudes rhyming in American accents, or whether it be like an Iggy Azalea?
Whatever makes you feel comfortable, man. Like, if someone wants to rap in whatever voice, that's cool. Like, personally, the way it's natural to rap in the voice that you're talking. That just makes sense. If you want to make something sound good, perform it better into the microphone in the studio. You know what I mean? And you can change your accent for effect or to make something rhyme, Why not? Like, Nicki Minaj is half the time rapping like she's English or Jamaican or whatever. But, yeah, it's interesting to me. But, if you want to rap with American accent or whatever accent, do your thing. To me, I couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it?
No.
Never crossed your mind?
When I was probably 11, and then you meet an older dude and he goes, no, you rap Australian, dude.
Does a particular person come into mind when you tell that?
I'm pretty sure it was actually probably Dialect's older brothers that we would have been, like, I remember us performing, we had like our first little crew thing, it was like called, we were like 12 and it was called Mic Check or something like that. We had our bars ready and we went out to the living room, we're like, all right, check this, we started spitting and he was like, no, like, do it Australian.
on the topic of dialect, so just tell us how that relationship originally come about.
We went to the same school, so we were just the two worst kids at the school, basically. So we were just like the only two kids that were into graph and hip hop, and we just became best friends. We still are best friends. So like, we're rapping, freestyling, not going to school. So.
Did you ever consider stepping in the ring?
Totally, but think about I'm a year younger as well. So you think about how young he was. I was a year younger, and everyone was going, "How are you even getting on stage?" Like we couldn't talk to girls. We couldn't, you know what I mean? We were children. And he was like, I remember his first battle, like he was 14, I was 13. It was at Traffic nightclub. It was like a Train of Thought played. It might have been like Train of Thought's album launch or, yeah. So he took that out, and he was a child, man. Like I was always like, yeah, I'm kind of a little bit worse than him at freestyling. Like I would, I probably felt like I was a bit better than I was, but I was like, Nelson's pretty good. I'm pretty decent. I'm not quite as good as him. I could probably give these guys a run for their money, but I'm not ready. And then, he just kept getting better and better and better and just kind of destroying everyone. It was fun to watch. And dudes were trying to beat him off and he was just a child, It's funny. Yeah, fun era for sure.
On the topic of battling, did you actually get up and give it a shot?
Yeah, dude, I started, this was late era, so I was probably like 17, so Nelson was like long finished battling. And I did like a Northern Elements up at NSS. That was like to win recording time, so I won that battle. Like it wasn't the same. By then, the pool wasn't the same. Like all the primes and the purposes and all those dudes who were pretty crazy freestylers had kind of ended it. And so I was like, oh whatever, I'm gonna take this out. So I went up there and I won it and got this recording time. That time, I cut my first demos and stuff.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that was sick. So that was like I would have never even gone to a studio if I didn't win that battle. So I did kind of get my start in battling in my own way. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever consider, or did you battle after that?
Yeah, I battled. I won maybe one or two more, but then I lost. I kept losing to Mannerisms, who's this dude who's like blind, and he's just if people haven't heard him, he's incredible. Like he just kept murdering me. He kept saying things about what I was wearing and stuff. I was like, "How are you doing this, man?" But he's really tough to battle.
Now, Mannerisms is, that'd be Manazil now.
Manazil, yeah.
So he's originally he come out as Mannerisms.
Yeah, Manazil, that's it. Yeah, Mannerisms was his first thing. Or Manners, yeah.
Have you kept in the loop as a fan with what's going on in the whole battle rap?
For sure. Like, I check if I see a cool, acapella battle pop up, I always check it. I don't know. I never see many freestyle battles going down anymore. But, thing is, people weren't freestyling anyway, so you know what I mean. Like half the people coming with the written anyway, so what's the point? But yeah, that's cool. I like that exists. I probably there's not much for me to gain from, battling somebody. You know what I mean? If I battle some 16-year-old and he murders me, it's only gonna make me look bad. So why am I trying to interact about the battle? Unless it's Kerser or something.
So would you battle Kerser?
Yeah, if he wants to battle, let's battle. Kerser, where you at?
Oh, just pause. That's a great piece of footage. That's so funny.
Just don't bring guns, man.
Did you
keep the guns at home?
Did you see the Kerser 60 battle when it happened?
I did. See, that was hilarious. That was a good time.
From what you've seen, I mean, you come up in the era where battles were freestyle on mics, over a beat, and it's completely almost just transformed into this a cappella format with the theatrics. And I mean, what are your thoughts on one versus the other? Do you have a particular preference that you enjoy watching?
There was something really, maybe not on footage, but there was something really awesome about going to a freestyle battle back in the day, and there was 45 seconds, beat went on, and then it was just you watch people crash and burn. People just choked, and then some people just killed it for 45 seconds, or somewhere in between. There was just that spontaneity about it, which was so rad. And someone drops a call, and they've just they're surprising themselves with the call. That was magic. That was the funnest. Those battles are chill too. Maybe it's just my nostalgia for those times, but some of you can blow the spot with a call and have everyone just going in a way, in a freestyle that you probably can't do any other way. So that's a cool art form. I hope that doesn't completely die, but at the moment it seems to be pretty lost.
One thing I've noticed is that with a lot of the younger cats, the amount of time that should we put into the music, a lot of it has now transferred into the YouTube clip. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's benefits to both. Like I've gone through stages where I put out heaps of mixtapes, and like, you know, at that time I was like, let's just do 14 tracks, recording 4 or 5 tracks a day, like spitting it twice, no comps, just straight up. And like, you know, at that time, you know, I thought that was a good idea. And for some of those songs that I thought were just rubbish and were rubbish, you know, probably might have resonated with some people. So sometimes that actually helped me that era. Just you had content and there was lots for people to hear. But then you look at the people who blow up, and like, you know, it's one thing to, you know, people spend lots of time on videos, not lots of time in the studio, but like, who's blowing up? Like Chance the Rapper, you know, Joy Badass, like, you know, like in the last few years I'm talking about. Anybody who's blown up, like their music, it has to be perfect to blow them up. So like you're gonna learn one way or the other to perfect your music, because the video is only gonna take you so far. And so like, you know, I had to learn that eventually. Like my album I spent a lot more time on, and these days I'm like methodical and like to the point I drive myself crazy in the studio. You know, like I'll just be up in there punching the wall and like going, just why can't my voice do this? Why can't we get this take? Why am I out by, you know, switching things 2 milliseconds and stuff like that. But yeah, that's, you know, that's lessons people need to learn. But yeah, it's just a new era. Hey, like, you know, the videos matter. So
Definitely.
and you can record at home as well. Like I remember when I couldn't get to the studio, these bars, yeah, as you said, 1,000 rhymes, and then you had this one song. I remember spitting tracks over and over again on the way to the studio hundreds of times, because I didn't have a studio time or money to go to the studio. So I'd be like, I better kill this straight away, first take. But like, I never, you know, half the time I go in there now with like half done rhymes, finish it in there.
The luxuries of having, you know, some sort of place to record where you don't get charged per the hour.
Yeah.
And just lastly, I mean, on the topic of you know, young people coming up, doing their thing. You know, there's a lot of youth out there that listen to your music. If you could give some tips, some pointers, you know, based on your experiences, for those that are out there trying to do their thing,
Yeah.
what are some things that you'd say?
I'd say just do you know, make the music you want to make. Don't be too constricted by expectations. You know, a lot of my friends hate my music, but yeah, as long as I like it, you know what I mean? If I listen to, you know, for me personally, if I listen to what the people around me were saying about my music, I probably would have never got in the studio, you know what I mean? Or my bars. But like, yeah, you just have to focus, be a perfectionist, teach yourself to be a perfectionist. And you know, Immortal Technique said, I can't remember the exact quote, but he was like, you know, there's a market for everything in this world. Like you can sell weird this, that. I can't remember that exact quote he was saying, but that's when I thought, yeah, dude, if you like what you're doing and you perfect it and you perfect your product, you can sell anything on planet Earth.
And just on what you just said before, so are you basically saying that at the beginning, you didn't really have the support or encouragement that maybe other artists have had in the past?
Yeah, like, see, I wasn't, there was no one really going, like, here, like, you're the dopest. You're like, you better get in the studio. Like, this shit is fire. Like, I was just like, you know, I was on the low. I was like, I'm pretty dope. Like, I can do this. Like, it was all like personal, just like, and then, you know, it kind of went from there. But the thing is, yeah, everyone starts off whack. So, you know, treat it like math. Figure out what you're shit at, and then break it down and then get better at it.
The lesson.